Welcome to XM.com for this Forex Preview video. We'll be having a look at U.S. data and, of course, the outlook for the dollar. I'm Christina Marujas, and joining me today is Senior Investment Analyst Rafi Boyajian. Wednesday is most likely to be an interesting day for the United States, as we'll be getting personal consumption and spending numbers just before the release of the Fed minutes from the November meeting later in the day. Turning firstly to the data, Rafi, given that more and more states across the U.S. are tightening restrictions, what are we likely to see in the consumption numbers?
Well, Christina, we could see quite a notable slowdown in personal consumption in October and also for personal income as well. We did have the unemployment benefit that had been extended by President Trump for a limited period of time. So that, although it was less than the original $600 a week payment, that also expired in September. On top of that, of course, as you mentioned, we do have tighter restrictions across the United States, although we don't quite have lockdowns like we do in Europe. There's been a surge in hospitalizations and death rates across the US, so that potentially did make consumers more wary in October. So we're expecting growth of 0.3% month on month in personal consumption. That would be down from 1.4% increase in September. Still, you could consider that to be a pretty decent figure in more normal circumstances, but it does definitely point to a slowdown in the recovery. We might get more positive numbers though for durable goods orders, as they are set to rise for the sixth straight month in October. We're also going to get the second estimate of third quarter GDP on Wednesday as well, and we could potentially see small upward revision to that figure as well.
Now, the expectation across the markets is that the Fed will have to act further in December. The minutes of the November meeting will probably shed some light on the central bank's intentions. How do you think the dollar will move, though?
Well, the minutes will be an interesting one. We're not really expecting too much to be revealed because, well, actually, first thing to point out is that a lot has changed in the 3 weeks since that meeting took place. The short-term outlook in the US has deteriorated quite rapidly because we've seen that record surge in daily virus cases in the US. On top of that, we did get that decision by the Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, who cut off some of the Fed's key emergency lending facilities, or at least the funding for those lending facilities, which means the Fed won't be able to extend those emergency programs beyond December. So that was actually one of the main discussions that the Fed did have back in November, that they were deciding whether or not to extend those programs, and the Fed had hinted that they will most likely get extended. Now they might have to come up with alternative programs to replace those ones, and the Fed, although looking at the data things aren't quite so bad, the Fed will be wary that we're going to have some other unemployment benefits expiring at the end of the year, which means come January things could get even worse. There's a strong chance that in December the Fed will announce some further policy measures. Whether or not we're going to see those in the minutes, it's hard to tell. At best, we'll probably most likely get some hints of whether there was a majority among FOMC members as to how open they were to further easing as early as December. As far as the dollar is concerned, it's really hard to predict how the dollar will react. Of course, if we do see soft data and hints of further easing, the dollar should come under pressure. But of course, the dollar is highly sensitive to risk-off, risk-on moves in the market. So, depending on what vaccine headlines we get, and of course, we were to get any risk-off episodes, the dollar would rise on the back of that, and if we get more positive vaccine news, the dollar should continue its slide.
Thank you for watching this Forex Preview video on U.S. data and the U.S. dollar here at XM.com.